Hi, this is Charlene Chamberlain, and you're listening to and watching Front Row on www.talkexchangeradio.com, WTER. Welcome to Front Row. My guest today is James P. Drinkard, who happens to be a screenwriter, a director, and a producer, and he is currently in production for his new film, and it's called Eat, Drink, and Be Merry. Welcome, Jim. It's nice to see you.
Thank you, Charlotte.
Thanks for being on Front Row.
Thank you for having me.
You're very welcome. Tell me a little bit about Eat, Drink, and Be Merry. What's the story about?
Eat, Drink, Be Merry is a story. It's a social worker's story.
Okay.
And I was a social worker for many years. And it's a social worker's story about his quest to end hunger and homelessness in the world, one city at a time.
Wow.
Beginning with Camden.
Beginning with Camden?
Yes.
Camden, New Jersey.
Yes, I had to start with a town, and in my eyes there was really no town more deserving to have a movie about it, and a good movie, an honest movie, than Camden. It was the site of the very first social work job that I had.
Okay.
And I'm still working there now, some 30-something years later, as a teacher.
And where's that?
That's at Harry C. Sharp School.
Okay.
In Kramer Hill.
Okay.
Under the direction of Principal Evelyn Ruiz, a great, great lady.
Do you want to say hello to her?
Hi, Miss Ruiz. It's always Miss Ruiz. Hello, Miss Ruiz. I love you very much. And it's a wonderful school. So really, for me, it's come full circle, with first being a social worker in the early '80s,
and now you're back.
Now being a teacher.
Yeah, so it's very close.
2014.
It's very close to your heart.
Most definitely, most definitely.
So, what's the basic plot line? Can you talk a little bit about it without giving it away, all of it away?
None of the punchline.
No.
The plot line, it really begins, and I changed it up a little bit. I did change the first scene. The first scene is now the second scene, and I didn't reverse it, I just added a first scene.
Okay.
But the plot line really begins in my childhood. I began feeding homeless people, probably around the age of 12.
Okay.
And that's like the first scene. It would unnerve my brother that I would just talk to complete strangers on the street. And so one thing led to another. My mother, who was very sympathetic to my needs, to do this. And it wasn't really about me. It wasn't what it did for me.
It was about helping.
It honestly, it didn't put a smile on my face. If anything, it was revolting that I would see at a very young age people live in deplorable conditions. Of course, in the first scene, I'm going to give away the first scene, but the first scene is, and I'm very young, it's like 1970, and my father, who worked as a federal meat inspector in Camden, he worked at Campbell's Soup. He pulls over, goes into his office, and of course he looks back and says, you know, I'll be right back, don't move. Well, you know, my character in the movie is Drink. That's the eat.
Right.
Eat, feeding people drink. That's me. And Be
Okay.
Merry. We're all very happy. Is I can't help myself, but I see a homeless person sitting on the curb.
Okay.
So what's my next move? Of course, I have to go out and I have
Talk
to have
to
a little.
them.
Yes.
Right.
So I have a donkey's cheesesteak in my hand, and I leave the car before my brother drags me back in.
And how old are you?
12.
12, okay.
I'm in my baseball uniform, and I leave, and I just go over to the stairs, and I see a wayward gentleman, and we engage in some conversation, and we befriend each other, and it's a very moving scene. It's an inspiring scene, but it's a very sad scene.
And this is a true story.
Well, the scene has modifications to it because I started feeding homeless people around this age, around
Right.
12. But, you know, to juice it up and make the scene...
absolutely, yes.
I mean,
you have to do that for
it's
film.
a very believable
Yeah.
believable story.
But this is something that could have almost or might have happened
most
to
definitely.
you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So
That's very close to your heart.
Definitely. So that's really where it all began. I wouldn't call that inspiring. I think it was more of a a determination on my part
Okay.
to do this. And like I said, from the very beginning, even till now, it was never about what it did for me. It hardly put a smile on my face. It was very, very much about what it did for the other person.
Right.
And that was as unselfish as I could possibly be in that role of a provider at such a young age. I mean, you're only 12.
Oh my gosh, yeah. And so throughout the film, though, you do grow up. And there
Most
are other
definitely.
scenes when you are an adult and you are also still trying to fix this horrendous problem in Camden.
Most definitely. After scene 1, then it advances many years. But the fire burning inside never stopped. In fact, it grew and festered. I mean, it was blazing,
Okay.
a blazing one. And in scene 2, as I'm driving through Camden, before I find my place where I'm going to get out and walk around and find more homeless people and hungry people, I narrate. So scene 2 is probably a minute and a half's worth of narration.
Okay.
And what that does, it tells you my history.
Right.
I was born here. I wasn't raised in Camden, but I was born here. I had my first social work job here. I had my dog Max here. My father died here. In fact, the irony of scene 2, one of the great ironies, and it's make the hair stand up on the back of your neck. I was actually born at Lady of Lourdes Hospital on a Tuesday,
Right.
11:02 p.m. My father died at Lady of Lourdes Hospital on a Tuesday at 11:02 p.m.
Wow.
So it's just those little
Yeah.
quirky things that,
Do you have that in there?
yeah,
Yeah, it's
absolutely.
part of
That's
the
through the
history.
narration. It's through the narration. But it's the burning in me from 12 till present day. It just grew and just it's like a bonfire right now. So, but it's part frustration too, because that's what used to really irk me in all of my years as a social worker, whether it was Camden or whether it was Philadelphia. It was, why isn't it getting better?
Right.
Keep in mind, many years ago, Camden was a paradise.
I know.
And all of the old timers, 70,
My
89,
parents also.
they
Yeah.
tell those same stories.
Yeah.
And
Beautiful restaurants, wonderful theater. Yeah.
safe neighborhoods, family atmosphere.
How did it get so bad and why is it still bad?
And that was part of that burning flame of frustration. So it wasn't just a determination to go out and just feed as many hungry and homeless people,
Right,
but
right.
it was just this frustration of seeing a town just disintegrate
Yes.
right before your eyes.
I know. How long did it take you to write this piece? I know you've been working on it for quite a while, and I'm sure it's been flying around in your head for a long time.
Yes.
But then you finally decided to get down to business and write it.
I wrote the first 22 scenes of Eat, Drink, and Be Merry over a 10-hour span over 3 days
That's pretty quick.
in late September of '09, and I finished on my mother's 90th birthday, October 2nd. I had 22 scenes, and I had about 55 characters, and I thought I was done, and I realized there was just more to the story. I just
Right.
kept adding. Now keep in mind, I'm trying to put in current events that makes the story more believable,
Right.
and with a little tweaking, and to make it a little more juicy, a little more interesting. And I added, I guess I took another year and added
To kind of
11,
clean it up and
11
polish
news.
it.
I really didn't polish it so much as was just add to it, add more stories. And that's really was. There's something to be learned. There's almost a moral to every scene. So there's 33 scenes. So in early October of '09, I had 22 scenes, and a year later, I had 33 scenes with 98 actors.
98 actors? Wow, that's a very big cast.
I jumped into the deep end very early. I don't think I'll be doing that in Eat, Drink, and Be Merry 2 or Eat, Drink, and Everything.
No.
It was time consuming.
Yeah, very.
Of course,
I
I
know.
wrote the movie. I wrote it at a little coffee shop in your hometown.
Right.
And at a place called
And
Phone.
what is this?
Oh.
This is show and tell.
No, she's prodding me to say something about this. This is a little, and don't think you can't write a screenplay on
in a little tiny book.
Yeah, this is a little CVS
Look at
notebook.
this. Show our viewers.
That's not in
This is
hieroglyphics.
This is the meat of it.
This is it, and no one else can read it.
Only you.
Because
it's in gym code.
This is bad. This is really, it's bad. It looks like it is.
But you know what it is, and you know what your notes mean.
It's
and,
chicken
you
scratch.
know, I have to say, I have about 4 of these little notebooks, and I keep a couple in my car, one in my purse, one at my desk, and I scribble all my stuff down into this. And if anybody looked at that, they would go, "What does this mean?" It's
the best.
Crazy stuff.
It is absolutely unbelievable. That was when I could write. That was when I could write, but I knew it was coming to an end. But anyway, a year later, I had 33 scenes.
Did someone help you get this into script format, type it in? Because I know it's a lot. 33 scenes to actually.
Karen did my wife Karen, she did all of the, she's a wizard. Mm-hmm. She's a wizard with computer stuff.
Right.
I'm clueless. I can type in Facebook.
Right.
And then go to my own page or
yeah.
But I'm not a computer person.
Right. Well, you're very lucky that she put all that together for you.
Absolutely. And my son Matthew, he plays a big part.
Yes.
A very big part.
I know.
In it. He comes up with very deep and profound lines that were very unusual. The exception for a child. In the movie, Matthew is he's 11 now, but in the movie, he's about 7. Okay. But really, one of the things in one of the earlier scenes, I think in scene 4, is where Matthew was 5, in real life, Matthew was 5 years old. And we're driving to Lancaster. We're driving out, we're probably in Exton or somewhere out there on 3 or something. And out of the clear blue, Matthew says, "Daddy," and I just turned, I looked back, and I said, "What's that, son?" And he says, "Can we feed homeless people?"
Wow.
So that, that doesn't give you the chills, nothing. Sure. Well, so after we get to our final destination, we have an episode, we have a problem in that scene. I won't go into it, but the very next scene, I'm back at the place, Foam, where I wrote the movie, and I have the owners of it, and the scene is called Like Father, Like Son. So I explain, that I have this incredible burning desire to feed as many homeless people, hungry homeless people, as I possibly can. And then I explain the episode of having the accident going out to Lancaster, and I tell them what happened, and the owner, she says, well, like father, like son. So that scene, that was it. So Matthew, basically, it's like I'm handing the baton off to him of this incredible desire and need to. But he came up with it, and Matthew's 11 now. He doesn't remember, but a half a lifetime ago, he came up with this line that's
when he was 5.
When he was 5 years old.
Right.
He was 5, and he said, "Daddy, can we feed homeless people?" And that was so. In the movie, I obviously had to throw in I threw in a little monkey wrench there and made the scene pretty dramatic.
Sure.
It's very dramatic, but
absolutely.
But that would shock anybody if their 5-year-old child said, "Can we feed homeless people?"
Well, I think it's very wonderful. I mean, you've raised him to be that way, and that's very credit to you and your wife. Absolutely.
Definitely.
And
but
I know Matthew, he's a great kid.
He is a great, but I could not do, getting back to your with the computer stuff and setting this up. It would take me 100 years.
Right.
So
are you planning on producing this yourself, or are you going to shop it around when the time is ready?
When it's in the can, when it's shot, and we're hoping to shoot.
When do you anticipate to begin production on this?
In a perfect world, late summer, early fall
of this year.
Yeah, it's time. The actors are ready. The locations are set.
And are you shooting strictly in Camden or in other areas as well?
No. Of the 33 scenes, sure. There's 23 locations.
Wow. Okay.
5 scenes at our house, and the next location is probably Donkeys, the cheesesteak place where many things take place.
Okay.
Many occurrences, positive, very good things. It would have been 4, but Bob Lucas, the owner of Donkeys, he had to retract one of the scenes. Something takes place within the movie that he wasn't particularly
enamored with?
Yeah, was not.
That's okay.
So it was good. So I went around the corner to Luby's, Luby Van's place, and Daryl was more than accommodating.
Good.
But the second most amount of scenes is is donkeys. But there's all on location. Keep it affordable. But there's some very dramatic scenes in the movie with the mayor. I've done a little too much for the city of Camden and the residents of Camden. He's not very fond of that.
Oh.
I also have a president scene,
Okay.
which is
Which president?
the president.
The one we have now. Okay.
Yes, we have a President Obama scene,
Okay.
and it's very nice. My family meets his family,
Oh boy.
and he's visiting Philadelphia, but he heard about this through the grapevine, and he heard about this suburban guy from, South
Right.
Jersey, who came up with a novel approach to ending hunger, homelessness, as we see it. And so he wanted to visit with me. Of course, our visit, I have a shiner. And so he apologizes for me getting roughed up. The
Oh.
previous night it was not.
Was that his fault?
No, he's just the president's very apologetic. So, but he's more than gracious to assist in my quest to continue to feed hungry and homeless people and to repair Camden. So it's not just a one-man band.
Right. Oh, no.
I'm getting a lot of support at this point in the movie, a lot of support and a lot of help. And other people want to hop on the bandwagon. So it was, I thought at the end of the movie, like this, maybe this is it. My goal was to put together a great story, a believable story about Camden. And then that was it. Then, okay, and then we'll move to another town.
At the end of the film, do you actually resolve the problem or the issue? If you do, don't say how, because we don't want to give anything away. But does it have a happy ending?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
That's
It'll be the softest PG-13. It's just short of a Disney classic.
Okay.
Yes.
So it's going to be a family movie.
Oh, most definitely. And the 6 things you have to leave: the sex, violence, vulgarity, nudity, drug use, and kind of thing.
And those are not in.
I have one altercation in the movie.
Oh, that's.
But there's no blood.
Yeah.
There isn't no
Profanity.
gunshots.
Not much.
The 18 to 35s, I teased their palate.
Okay.
It will not scare them away. The 18 to 35, just go out, eat your Mary, go see it. You won't be disappointed. There's lots of edginess, lots of stuff going on that you'll like.
But you can still take your 10-year-old.
Yes,
Okay.
and your 5-year-old. So parents, I don't go crazy. I don't just freak out and upset the apple cart too much where the mouth gets me in trouble. But it'll be a very soft PG-13.
So I want to talk to you a little bit about casting. Did you hire or cast an Obama lookalike for that role?
The Obama lookalike I could not afford.
Okay.
He's done plenty of commercials, and when I say he's a President Obama lookalike,
Yes.
I think you know who he is.
I do, yeah.
And it's indistinguishable.
Yeah.
Like he could
Yes.
waltz
You
into the
wouldn't
White
know.
House and
You wouldn't know.
hello, Mr. President.
Yeah.
It's real. I couldn't afford his services.
Of course not.
So it's so I
someone close.
I have a very good substitute,
Good.
very able-bodied, very nice. A lot of the actors are well-equipped. There's actors from MPEG, the Metropolitan Philadelphia Entertainment Group from Philadelphia. But are you ready for this one?
Yes, go ahead.
After the 22 scenes were finished
Right.
at Foam, and
Before you write the rest of them.
Right, the
Yeah.
98. And then I'm looking at this screenplay, and I'm like, well, somebody has to fill this part. Guess what I did?
What?
I became an aficionado of coffee shops in South Jersey. I sat at Starbucks on Haddonfield Road across from the old Garden State Park.
Yes.
I sat there for 6 months in the same soft seat.
And?
I picked people out of line all without getting my face cracked. You look great. So I gave them the same 30-second spiel. Same thing. Every person.
Did you have them audition right on the spot at
It was,
Starbucks? That is a story within itself.
I have probably 25 actors from that one Starbucks. And then when I exhausted all the actors at the one store, then I went to another Starbucks. I went to the Starbucks across from the Mercedes dealership.
That should be the name of your production company, Starbucks.
Starbucks. They would like
Star
that.
Bucks.
Oh, I like
about
that.
It.
We're going to talk about that. So I went to the Starbucks on Route 70.
Cherry Hill.
Right across from the Mercedes dealership. And I have 5 or 6. 5 or 6.
Now, these are just regular people getting their coffee, or are some of them actors?
I nag them for 30 seconds. I make them feel guilty.
Right.
For, like,
not
turning me away.
participating and helping.
Well, you know, the catch is, like, they're not denying me.
Right.
You're denying Camden.
Right.
Like, how dare you turn down Camden?
Right.
So I make them feel guilty. And, you know, as a social worker, I'm very good at making people feel guilty. You know,
how are you going to keep track of, what is it, 98 actors? That's a very large cast.
Yes.
Large
cast.
That must be a scheduling nightmare.
Well, I'll tell you what. I cast for probably 90% in the Cherry Hill Mall.
Right.
Right outside of Nordstrom's, there's a little cafe, the E-Bar, the E-Bar Cafe, and they have a nice, comfortable seating area as you enter right there. And
that was your casting couch?
That was.
I had to say that.
I mean, you know, I'd love
you're in the mall, so
I would
it's
love
okay.
to bring the pretty girls back to my house, but that's not going to happen. No, that's not going to happen. Matthew would make sure that none of the pretty girls get there. No, right in there, I cast 80.
Wow.
80, probably 80. And the casting only took 2 years.
Only 2 years? Well, 98 people, that's a lot.
Just took 2 years off of my life. Just carved 2 years right off the top. But that was it. So it was the mall was great. And keep in mind, it's pretty dead, you know. Like 8:30 in the morning. All you have is the walkers.
Yeah.
So, you know, you stay there for an hour and a half. It's pretty quiet. I mean, you have a little classical music playing, but other than that, it's quiet. But
so that was your office, really.
I owe a lot to the mall.
Right.
They just let me. Nobody gave me a hard time. Nobody questioned me. Nobody nagged me. Nobody said you got to go. Whatever you're doing, we don't like it. Nobody did that. So
that's great.
But it wasn't just the 98. I overcast for a lot of these parts.
Well, I think sometimes you have to, especially with something of this magnitude. You need that many actors. You know, what is the percentage of those 98 actors actually being available during the time when you're ready to shoot? You know, those are the odds.
That's a crapshoot. Like this movie, it's powerful.
I know. And
the more that you tell people about the history of Camden, kind of like from start to now, people start to get very interested. Oh, by the way, what was my part again?
Yeah.
Yeah. You know what? I'm gonna make sure, you know, that I'm gonna be here on such and such a day.
Yes.
My expectations. I'm a realist. I'm a social worker, so I'm a realist. But if things go well, and it gets out there through mediums like this, I mean, this is a great medium. You know what you're doing here. I mean, this is a beautiful thing. I think we're all part of this thing. I think we're sitting on a potential Academy Award-winning movie.
Wow.
The screenplay alone, it just knocks your socks off. And don't we like to hear a great story?
Absolutely. Everybody wants a feel-good story.
Oh, I mean, how long can a town like Camden get kicked in the teeth? Really? I mean, dragged through the mud, kicked in the teeth. It just over and over. I mean, it has to end. It's got to end. You know, the bully has to stop kicking.
Yeah.
So, and what the screenplay is, I kind of drag Camden
Along for the ride.
I drag it out of the mud, dust it off, clean it up, spray it, hose it down. I make Camden a pretty
shine
again.
It's
and I'm not finished at 1.
Well, that was going to be my next question. How long do you think it's going to take to shoot this?
With the 33 scenes, we're probably looking at about a 40-day shoot. 35 to 40-day shoot.
Weather dependent too, right?
Yes, even though there's a lot of indoor scenes, I would always insist on powerful outdoor scenes.
Mm-hmm.
None of this is lily white. And I got that, I think, from the Woody Allen movie, Midnight in Paris.
Mm-hmm.
If you see some of his dialogue there, it's a lot of browns, a lot of reds, and a lot of yellows.
Right.
There is nothing lily white about that
Right.
movie, and it makes
Right.
it more visually stunning and spectacular.
Mm-hmm.
But Camden, Paris isn't Camden. Camden isn't
Right.
Paris. So there's a real edginess there. There's a graininess involved. So it's I took a lot of that. But getting back to your original question, we're looking at
40
30
days shoot,
30
and then
35 to 40 days shoot.
Then you're looking at an editing schedule, which
Exactly.
could be months, right?
Yes, exactly. The game plan, the goal is, after the movie's in the can, to send it off to festivals.
Yes,
And that's
of course.
the cheap part of it.
Yeah.
Festival, what, $30, $40 for
Depending
send it
on
to?
which one, yeah.
Right, certainly.
Right.
And I mean, there's a festival. There's probably 200 festivals going on right now somewhere
I
in the
know.
world. Every single day of the year, 365
Mhm.
times 200.
Right.
That's a lot of festivals.
I know.
So for drama, there's some comedic to it, but
Mhm.
it's basically a
Or
low budget.
It's almost kind of like a
independent.
documentary, almost. It's
No,
sort of-
no, it's
No?
really not. It's really not an on-the-run kind
No?
of thing. It
Okay.
really is. It's a full length. It's a feature length drama
Okay.
with very, very profound scenes. There's one scene, which is the longest scene in the movie, scene 13, with a prostitute. I mean, just a few years ago, I had a van full of turkeys around Thanksgiving. I hit this turkeys at Thanksgiving. I hit this.
Wait, frozen turkeys?
Well, they were a little thawed out. I mean, I got them from
Not
like
live
the grocery.
turkeys. Turkeys ready for
Oh,
Thanksgiving dinner.
grocery.
Okay.
Yeah,
Grocery
with the
turkeys.
handle. Oh, no.
Yeah,
no.
not live turkeys.
That's an idea for another movie. Live turkeys for. I like that. Live turkeys for. I like that. We'll talk about it. But I loaded up my van full of turkeys from the ShopRite.
Right.
And I had won like $73,000 at the racetrack. I mean, what am I
Right.
going to do with all this money? So
Right.
one of the last things I did with all of this money is I think I bought ShopRite out of all their turkeys. It was like the day or two before Thanksgiving. And the very last person that I gave a turkey to was a prostitute.
Mm-hmm.
Now, in real life, I'm having a little chit-chat. She wants to come in the van, have sex, and whatever. I mean, and then now movie-wise, I want to put that character, her scene, right there. I want to put that.
Of course.
Because it was very dramatic.
It's reality, yeah.
So what should I do? Should I make her skeevy and uneducated and
Right.
just, foul? So I'm
What did you do?
I'm a Rod Serling fan, so I got a little sci-fi in me here.
Okay.
You know what I did? I romanticized her character.
Oh, good.
So I invite her into my van. We have a little chit chat.
And you give her a turkey.
Well, before the turkey, I kind of inspired her. I gave her some words of wisdom.
Right.
I made her funny, I
Mhm.
made her smart, and I made her beautiful.
Oh, well, that's nice.
So she left with a.
Can I have that role? No, I'm just kidding.
You can.
No.
Eat, drink, be merry too. But I have 3 presents. But in that character, I met at the. We're talking about places where we
Right.
cast and everything. I met her 2 or 3 years ago at the Mayfair in Collingswood.
Okay.
Talking, she was walking with her children, and Karen and Matthew and we were there. And I was like, I need to have her. I just saw her, this lacy
So I
little,
have to have
and I
her,
said to
yeah.
Karen, I said, I have to
She'll
have
be
her.
perfect.
And she said, what, the prostitute part? I said, yes. So you know,
Perfect.
it's
You never know. I mean, you never know where
Yeah.
you're going to see the right character as well.
I think I'm casting in my sleep, Char. I
well,
really do.
with
It's
98
really,
plus actors.
yeah, it's a continual casting.
So I would like you to tell our listeners where they can find out about Eat, Drink, and Be Merry. Do you have a Facebook page or a
Have a
website?
Yes, it's well, there's 2. It's you can see me on Facebook.
And you're
It's
under,
Facebook.com/jp.drinkard.
and spell it.
Drinkard, Drinkard. And of course, if you want to send me an email of Verizon, jp.drinkard@verizon.net. And as we get a little bit closer to shooting, I have a domain site.
So you'll be able to post like production stills
Everything. all
and
that
maybe
stuff.
little snippets of some of the scenes.
Exactly.
That'd be great.
And that's Eat, Drink, it's one word, eatdrinkandbemerry.org. So that's eatdrinkandbemerry.org. So that's eatdrinkandbemerry.org.
Jim, I want to thank you so much for coming on to Front Row with me today. I wish you great success with Eat, Drink, and Be Merry, and we'll look forward to seeing that.
Eat, Drink, Be Merry 2 is right here. We didn't talk about that.
We'll save that for the next visit.
Eat, Drink, Be Merry 2. I can't write anymore. I have a bad hand. Here is 2, Shark.
Okay.
Have me back?
I will absolutely have you back
Right
on.
We'll talk about that.
All right. Thanks for coming on Front Row.
Sure.
Great to see you.
Thank you. Great. Thank you, Shark.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you so
My
much.
pleasure.